recording now. And so for the person watching this recording, we are starting from scratch by clicking on Scrivener, File, New Project. You have different templates here you can see. I start with blank, just because I like to build from scratch. And I'm going to put this in my highlights folder. I'm going to call it Scrivener Demo, April 12th. Feel free to blurt out questions. I think I can see all of you. Okay. So here's the document I'm going to build. And again, I'm going to, if you're watching the recording, what I already mentioned, the rest of the group is the document on the left is the thing I'm about to build for everybody, just to sort of show you what I do and show you the features that I use, although my stuff is not necessarily the most efficient way of doing things. So this green plus symbol up here, that's how you add a new document of whatever kind. You can pull down the caret symbol for either a new text file, which is where I put my chapters, or a new folder, which I use to hold groups of things like my research, my characters, my documents. New folder. Actually, I want a new text document. And this is going to be what I call my top notes, where I just keep general notes to myself. I'm going to click and drag that all the way to the top. In fact, that wants to be a folder so that it will go where I want it to. And I can type, anything I want to refer to frequently up here in top notes. Now I'm going to start to build the place for my draft. This is one of the most confusing things about Scrivener in my mind is the way you'll click on something and you'll get something like this. And I'm like, no, I want a blank page. I don't want note cards. It took me a while to remember to click here on the, I don't even know what they call it. View the group sub-documents as scrivenings, if that's worth anything to you, versus cards versus outline mode. And now within my draft folder, they've already sort of prompted me with an untitled document. I'm going to put chapter 1. And if I know, what it is at this point in my writing process, it's called Welcome to Athens. And now the green plus will help me just continue to add space for my chapters here. Chapter 2 is Unwelcome Guest. But again, you may just be drafting. Maybe the first thing you do is you create chapter 1, Welcome to Athens, and off you go writing. You can also write as much as you want and divide this later into chapters. But let's say that I have an idea. I've done an outline. Let's say, for instance, chapter 3, food. Chapter 4, calling, walking home. And I'll even just leave those untitled documents there just so I can expand into future chapters as I begin to write them. Okay, now here's my, they automatically give you a place for research. I might put in a couple of files there. Athens Airport, for instance. And I can go to the web. I can ask for a map of Athens Airport. This is me. Let's say I'm doing my my research at another time. I'm sort of lumping all of my stuff together. Here's the map of Athens Airport that I want. Great. Copy image, and I can drop that there, etc. I can also drop, links there. I also will drop sometimes I drop links, sometimes I drop entire documents, so I don't have to go back to the link. I might copy all of the text and put it there. It's, again, whatever your purpose, whatever your research demands. I want to create a character folder. This is just a blank folder sitting here. I'm actually going to get rid of that to show you, so I can work from scratch here. A new folder for my characters. And again, it's a little counterintuitive, like why did it drop it there and not over to the left where I want it? I do a control command right or left if I want to move folders or files to line up where I want them to line up. There's also, put this in my top notes. See, move comes from the edit menu. So if that folder's not where I want it to be, you can also go to the edit menu, go to move, and move your file or your folder in any direction that way. You can also see here that there are keyboard commands. So I want my folders all to be aligned on the left there. And then I know I have 4 characters I'm going to add. Nick. And here's where I might put notes to myself about these characters. Who are they? If you do any like character building exercises, if you journal as your character, whatever it might be, I might put stuff like that in here. And I know at this point that I'm going to want to do some color coding per my characters because I'm pretending that this is a 3 point of view character novel. So I right click on Nick. I come down to label here, and they give you some suggestions that this label could just be called red. I like to edit my labels. For one thing, I like to create brighter colors so they stand out on my screen. So this first label I'm calling Nick. I double click on this color, and now I can make the label whatever color I want. Bright red for Nick. And you see, like, none of this color has shown up yet, because again, it's a bit counterintuitive with Scrivener. But I go up to the View menu, use label color in, and for my purposes, I like to use it in the icons and use label color and in the index cards. Now I'm going to give that label to Nick, and you see it turned red there. I don't know why it didn't there, and it turned red. Turned my index card red. If I go to the corkboard to confirm, yeah, sure enough, that one's red now. And I'll just do these quickly. I'm going to make Daisy. I'm going to make Daisy yellow. I do this sometimes for myself, like daisies are yellow, so that just helps me remember what my colors mean. And I have a character named Julius. That makes me think of Orange Julius, so I'm going to make him orange. And Mom is going to be green. I don't know if Mom's going to be a point of view character or not. Okay, so I've set my label colors. Now, right-click, label Daisy. Right-click Julius, orange. Right-click Mom, green. Mom may or may not be a point of view character. So, okay, now chapter 1 is in Nick's point of view, let's say. So I can do that up here. Chapter 2, let's say it's in Julius's point of view. Chapter 3 in Daisy's point of view, etc. That's one way to use the color coding and the labels. Let's see what else I have over here. I have characters, I have research. I want to create my parking lots. So a new folder, which just, it randomly went below where my cursor is. I can just drag that to where I want it. Parking lots. And oh, I'm like, where are my files? You see this little caret, it's pointing to the right there? I need to open up the folder just by clicking it open like that. And I'm going to have a Nick parking lot, a Daisy parking lot, Julius parking lot, and a Mom one. I could color code those as well, but I'll just keep this moving along right now. And this is all me like on day 1 of my project. I'm going to add a new folder for my unused material. And I just keep adding these as I write chapters, etc. And I'm going to add a black label for unused material. So come here, add plus symbol to add a new one. Double click on the color. I know this is probably confusing to at least some of you, and I'm hoping that you're absorbing some, not all of what I'm trying to impart here. And I'll show you in a minute why it's useful to have the unused material look different than the chapters. Right click, unused material. Okay, so where does that leave me next? I mentioned the learning curve. We are beginning a project. Okay, so now I'm ready to start drafting, and I know that I want my manuscript to be, I generally work in Arial, 12-point, double-spaced. And let's see. Down here at the bottom, I like to see my text at about 150%, right there. Keep having to move you all around my screen. Okay, so let's say I know that I want my default font for the entire project to be Arial 12-point double-spaced. I'll highlight an example of that text, and I'll go to the Format menu. Make formatting default. For this project only, not for Scrivener in general. If you want to do it for Scrivener in general, you would go to Scrivener and Preferences. Oh, and in fact, there it asked me, all projects? No, this project only. So if I do go to a blank document, you can see I've got Arial 12-point and 2.0 all waiting for me. So you don't have to set it file by file. Let's see, default formatting. Oh, icons. Okay, I'm going a little bit out of order here. If you're geeky like me about this stuff and you like the visual reference in this left-hand column, you can customize the way these little icons look. Choose top notes, maybe I have a Blackboard for top notes. And for my draft, right click, change icon. I'll use the blue or the blue notebook, whatever you want. You can sort of look around these. This is great procrastination if you don't feel like writing, but you want to be like working on your document. Change icon. So for characters, I might have, a human eye, etc., etc. Corkboard view menu options. Okay, so let's look at the corkboard for a second and see what we have going. We've got these 3 chapters working. Got some text here. I'm working on chapter 2, working on chapter 3. And at any point you want, using this index card here, I can put a synopsis of the chapter, as you might, for a note card that goes on the bulletin board. Daisy can't find Nick. She goes home. Here, Nick arrives in Athens. Where is everyone? Whatever you want for yourself. So I've got my developing document. I also simultaneously have my note cards tracking along. And if you ever want, once you get into multiple chapters, it can be useful to go into the, I find it useful to use this as sort of an overview of my project. You can also drag these around and they'll automatically, what you do here will show up automatically over here. You see my chapters are 3, 2, 1 now, which is a way of you rearranging your document but without losing the individual chapters if you want to experiment with the order of events or that sort of thing. You can also Corkboard options. If I want to see, say I have like dozens or say I have 24 note cards right now and they're not all fitting into this one view, I can do however many cards across I want. Now they're too small, of course, but just to give you an idea. And I don't use any of these other options, so I'm not going to mention those. But by all means, like go in, experiment with these, try these yourself. Corkboard view menu options. Move, I mentioned already how to move things so that they line up here all on the left, the way I want them to look. Oh, append. Okay, let's go back into text mode. So let's say I have, let's say this is a complete chapter, and I have 1,000 words here, whatever it might be, or here's the part I don't want anymore. I use this function all the time. It's a good one to master for me. I right-click the stuff that I want to move elsewhere. I come down to Append Selection to Document. And again, once you explore this a little more, you'll see it'll start to make more sense. But I go into my draft. No, I go into my unused material folder. I want to append this highlighted text into chapter 1 unused material. And that's why I created those black icons for the unused material folders, because I can clearly see, I get a visual reference for myself, like, yes, I'm putting it in the right place. Because sometimes you can make the mistake of going into your draft and appending text to the bottom of the document you're working on, and it can become very confusing. So I just appended that there. It didn't delete it. It just added a copy of it in my unused material folder. So alternately, if I was not using that, I'd just go ahead and delete it now. Alternately, let's say this is a complete chapter now. I have a full chapter 1 in front of me, and now I want to come back and redraft chapter 1. I'll highlight everything I have here, either with my mouse or with Command A. I'll append it to Unused Material Chapter 1. The most recent thing I appended to stays in memory, so I can just click on that again. You'll see again, everything has gone here to the bottom of wherever I've appended. And that means I've kept a copy, and I can start to make changes without fear of losing anything, etc. Append, show colors. If you haven't figured out already, I'm a big fan of color coding. So I color code my text as well. I use black for, I know I want this text. I use, and the lighter the color goes, the less I want the text. So I use purple for I'm probably going to keep it, blue for maybe, green for probably not. And so this is where you can format your text here, your text color here. But because I use this so often, I click on Show Colors. Oh, they were already there. Show Colors. And I just keep that hanging around in the inspector so it's there. And that way it's just as easy as boom and boom. So that mostly lives open for me. Notes, I already mentioned the notes. You can keep chapter-specific notes here, as well as images. Spacebar. Oh, this is really handy. So let's say, I'm going to take this away for a minute. I'm going to put all this into my top notes. So let's say I'm working on one document. I want to bear this list in mind while I'm working on chapter 1 for whatever reason, or I want to have my Athens Airport folder open while I'm working on chapter 1. This is super handy. Highlight the thing you want to open in a separate window, press the space bar, and there it is. And so now when I'm in chapter 1, I have a separate window that shows me what I want to see. You can also split the screen. I find that confusing. I never do it, but by all means, if you want to. Okay. Spacebar to open. I don't use this a lot, but again, if you find all of this distracting, you like the features of Scrivener, but you like to work in a quieter visual mode, from the View menu, you can enter Composition mode, and you just get this. And here you can just work in a quiet document. If you want menu options, you just take your mouse to the top of the screen and it pulls up the menu there. But for otherwise, you're just here in this quiet space. Compile. I almost don't know that I want to jump in. Compiling is when you want to take a section of your manuscript or all of your manuscript and prepare it for printing or for export in some way. Do you want me to get into that now, or are you feeling like it might be one thing too many? No, not yet. I'll save that, and if anybody wants to hang out later, maybe we'll come back to that. Okay, so where was I? The find function. Right, so let's say I want to look for something in my document. This, I use this one a lot, this magnifying glass. Where do I mention Daisy? And you see that the binder went away temporarily, and it shows me all the chapters where Daisy has appeared. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the chapter I'm looking for. I can click right into that file. If I want to see the binder again, this is another one of those counterintuitive things. You have to clear the search function, and it brings you back to the binder. So again, look for Nick. There are all my Nick chapters. I go here to look for what I'm looking for, and I want to see the binder again, so I clear my search function there. What goes hand in hand with that one is project replace. Say I decide to change Nick's name to Steve. In the find menu, where's the find menu? Find project replace. This is something I use quite a bit as well. And so now everywhere I see Nick, it's going to turn into Steve. It can't be undone, so it gives me a warning. And then close. And so again, I don't remember where I had Nick, but anyway, everywhere it shows up, it'll show up as Steve from then on. Oh, and then one more thing here. Let's say I am typing along, composing my story, and I realize I want a chapter break. Then this would be where the new chapter is going to start. Which let's say I've only just realized that as I've already composed all these words, all these in this chapter. And so when I go to the documents menu, I go to the place where I want the chapter split. And there's a split menu, there's split at selection. And you'll see it inserted. Basically, it duplicated the name of the chapter, and I can change that here, chapter 1b, part 2. And it's left everything else behind in the previous chapter. Even as I talk about this stuff, I'm really aware of how confusing that might be. It's so, it's actually somewhat aggravating to hear tech people go, oh, you just this, you just that, you just this, you just that. I have not found a way to not do this with Scrivener. I'm hoping it'll sort of show you a few things to try, or like a few places to start. A lot of people walk away from Scrivener for this reason, because it's so much. But anyway, that's what I thought I might be able to share with you today. Now we can just talk about it, or do Q&A, or specific tasks that you're curious about, or things that I told you about that weren't clear.
Can you just tell me which template you started with again?
I start with the blank one.
Blank, okay.
But experiment, see if the other ones are useful to you.
Thank you.
Oh, you need to unmute there.
Sorry, I clicked it and it didn't go. Is there a way to add more notations than just one color for, say, you've got characters, and I did every document. So basically for my novel and verse, every poem is a location. So school, home, sports, But if I want to mark where all my characters are throughout the story, is there a way to add a little notation, or like this one features, Bob and Stacy and Ed. This one features, Mr. Smith and Daisy, or whatever, Daisy in my head, but like,
Yeah.
besides notes, besides actually writing out in long form, this chapter has these characters. Is there a way on the card to add little icons that I can then sort and track?
Oh, that you actually, yeah, let's see. So here you would want to do that, are you saying?
I don't know where it is. There a way to sort in multiple ways, not just one color, which just signifies one thing, I guess.
Yeah. You can only color code in this way for one element, but there is something called keywords. I'm just wondering if it's going to show it to us here.
Oh, okay.
And if I don't have an answer for you, what you're going to want to do is look for keywords. Including compile, metadata, comments and footnotes. Yeah, custom metadata and keywords.
Okay.
So let's say, see the plus symbol here to add one, Leah?
Yep.
This is where he worries a lot. If maybe it's a lot about anxiety, whatever it might be. And you should be able to apply those to chapters and then sort and search accordingly.
Does it show up in a menu somewhere, or do you have to
I'm trying to
manually put it into each card, each?
I think, let's see. I don't really remember. I would do a search on keywords, outliner option keywords. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But I know that you can do that. And you can also, I believe, I haven't done this in a long time, but you can use keywords to create a watermark on these cards. So like I see it's pink for Nick, but it can also in large faded text, it can say, anxiety. But again, I can only choose one for that function.
Right.
Or, school versus home versus downtown. So that doesn't exactly speak to what you were doing, but there is a high degree of functionality. You'll have to explore that a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Elise, you said you tried to download, use one you downloaded. And what do you mean one what?
I had I had asked if you knew how to import a template to use, so like I had downloaded one, an author had their website and said, oh, here's a template I use for Scrivener. And I don't recall if maybe it was for the wrong version, like maybe it was Mac and I'm on PC or something, but I couldn't get it to work. So it could be that I just didn't do it right, or it wasn't compatible, but I wouldn't mind seeing how it's done if you know how.
No, I never work with templates, unfortunately for you. That's one of the ways I just keep my life simpler on Scrivener. But again, like Scrivener for Dummies is a good book to get. And also you can just Google these questions and quite often come up with a pretty good answer. Make sure you specify Scrivener for Mac or for PC. And yeah, Nancy, and for anybody, like Kathy, if you were here sort of to see the basic setup, I know you are just getting started, for instance. I won't be offended if anybody has gotten all they need and wants to go. Nancy?
I wanted to ask, how do you use the parking lot then, as opposed to the black folders of unused stuff? Like, what is the parking lot material then?
Like if I write a great line of dialogue for Nick, but it just doesn't fit in this chapter, it goes in the parking lot for me.
Okay. So it's like liminal space. You haven't decided yet whether or not there's a place for it in the book, or
I love liminal spaces, so yes.
Purgatory for this. Thank you.
And then just literally like once, whatever, every 2 weeks or whenever it might be, I print out all my parking lots, I read them through, and I get rid of what doesn't belong there anymore, or I import what I want. multiple drafts of one scene or chapter. Kelly, what was this question? How do you handle multiple drafts of one scene or chapter? Do you ever write on your manuscript outside of Scrivener? Oh, yeah. I mean, I use the unused material folders for the last version, but I keep all of those previous versions, and I know that using that append function will put the latest at the very bottom. So if I want what I just did, I can go to my unused material file, go to the bottom and look for it. But I also know that everything, like I also might know, oh gosh, 3 versions ago I had that line about the Winnebago, and I want that back. And you can go into the unused material folder and just search for Winnebago that way.
So then you write each one, and then so then you move it to your unwanted material, and then you keep the current one in the corkboard and the main part.
Yeah.
Okay, so you keep moving them down, like say chapter 1, like if you wrote, 5 times, you'd have 4 chapter 1s down there, and then the most recent one in the drafts.
My unused material folders are unwieldy and ridiculous, but it's what works for me. But yes, by the time a project is done, those folders are huge. I very rarely go back to them, so I don't worry about being spending a lot of time being too organized about them. And you might ask other Scrivener experts, because that's my little invention. I think there might be more efficient ways of doing it.
And you do your whole manuscript in Scrivener. You don't ever do it outside and then load something in, or
I don't. That's the compile function that I can show you maybe at the end of this session, where I'll export it to print. Some people say that they have formatting issues. I somehow have moved past that. That's never a problem for me when I export to Word. Like when I'm going to hand a document into an editor, they usually want it in Word, and you can do that from Scrivener.
What about if you've written a lot of your manuscript already and it's in Word, and then you want to put it in Scrivener? Then do you just go load in each chapters or something on one of those cards?
That's worth showing you. I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, so let's say so pretend all of these chapters aren't here, and I'm coming into a blank document, and I want to import from Word. So let's see. How do I do this for you? I'm looking for a large document here. Okay, so I've written this. Let's say I've written this whole manuscript in Word. I can highlight all of it, or however much of it you want to import. And I'll drop it into one big file. I don't need that opening material. And then I want a new chapter for chapter 10. This is something I mentioned before. Where's that? Split in the documents menu. So I highlight my new chapter title here. And I split at the selection to insert a chapter break. And because I happen to have my chapter title all ready to go, I'm going to split with the selected text down at chapter 10 down and through. Split with selection as title. And there's chapter 10 down and through as a separate document. And if you don't have chapters, titled yet, but like here's where you want to create a new split, document split at selection, and it continues to subdivide the document that way. I find that to be pretty efficient. I think it's also possible to import files. Let's see if this works. It looks like it didn't. I know it's possible.
I
Leah,
did that. Yeah, I did that with my novel in verse, which I already had 130 pages. So rather than copy and paste this whole massive thing, you can import using any kind of keystroke. And so I did a hashtag, and I put a hashtag in front of every poem, and then I imported splitting using the hashtag. So it made a different document for everything between the little hashtag icon.
yes, that's super handy as well. I love that feature. I don't know why it wouldn't. Oh,
It looks like it skipped a chapter. It put it in there, but it's down below where you wanted it. Is that it?
Oh, it is. There it is. Yes, thank you. Yeah. And what Leah was talking about was here in my original document. If you put, you said it was a hashtag, and say hashtag at the chapters. Save that document in Word, and file, import and split. Now I've forgotten which one I just what I'm looking for. There. I think that should do it. No, that's the wrong file. Anyway, that's how it would operate.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you cannot create, if you have a document that already exists, you cannot create the folders in Scrivener and then just drop each chapter into each folder.
You could do it that way. Do you mean with a cut and paste?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like sort of.
Can't follow what you're doing.
Yeah, it's that's how I did it before I learned to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you had like 7 chapters, it would take you all a couple of minutes anyway.
Yeah, I have exactly 7 chapters.
Yeah, I mean that's another sort of aspect of Scrivener, right? Like do it by hand until you learn the keystrokes. There's no reason. There's always more than one way to do things.
So when you're editing, do you import back the document that you get from like your editor or agent or whoever has comments on it? Does it show the comments, or do you have to like do something special with that?
Like a lot of people, once I get into a document where they send me with track changes, then the story's far enough along that I don't generally bother going back and forth anymore. I'll start working in Word at that point.
Okay.
But you could.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure, go ahead, Leah.
Can you speak to the Thesaurus tool in Scrivener? I'm used to Word, and you just, pull up Thesaurus and you've got all this whole list. And here it's like you go sent into a dictionary, a separate software, and it's clunky.
Oh, yeah, I've never used it. Let's see. Oh, let's see.
I'm in my Thesaurus all the time. That's why it's just.
Look up dictionary in Thesaurus. Oh, yeah, it opens a new window. All right, so let's show everybody. So like the word sound. And if I don't know where to look for a function, I go to the help menu, writing tools, look up, and I start to type in Thesaurus. And it shows me exactly where that is, but you could also just click from the help menu or go to edit. Where was it again? Writing tools, edit, writing tools, look up in dictionary and Thesaurus. And it gives you, is that what you're seeing when you use it, Leah? You're muted again.
It's a bunch of steps to get there. It's like 3 more steps than it would be in Word.
Yeah, it's not a function that I use. Let me see if you could right click for it, cut, copy, paste. The document, spelling and grammar. Yeah, I don't know. And for those of you who haven't already heard me talk about it, my newest discovery in Scrivener is the name generator, which has been surprisingly useful. when I'm trying to come up with a character name, male, female, attempt alliteration, how obscure do you want it to be? Do you want to include Catalan names, Finnish names, German names, Hindi names, Irish names, et cetera, et cetera. It's been more useful than I expected. Anyone else? Anything else? To the name generator? It is in the edit menu and in writing tools. No. Let's see. Yeah, edit, writing tools, name generator. And if you're ever looking for any of these functions, if you can at least remember them by name, you can always go to the here. You can always go to the help menu up here at the top and type in what you're looking for. Go ahead, Nancy.
How do you save, or does it save automatically? Like, what happens with that?
Oh, yep. It saves. You can set. Let's see. I'm going to look at Scrivener preferences, general saving. You see, I have mine set to save after 2 seconds of inactivity. Like I just do app, like so it's just saving all the time. But in terms of saving my file menu, and just a straight save there, like with Word. And I save my documents usually more than one place, so I do a save and then I'll do a save as and save it to my thumb drive or wherever else.
So you can save a Scrivener file to like a backup drive, even though that backup drive doesn't have Scrivener on it to open it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just catching up on the chat. Is there anything I've missed from the chat? There.
I wanted to compile and it only gives you like 3 or 4 fonts. Can you add a font to the compile?
I've not had great luck with that, and I haven't gotten very deep into compiling. Like if I'm going to change fonts, I'll usually compile for Word.
Okay.
Open the file in Word and then do what I need to do in there. Anyone else? Sure, go ahead, just unmute, Kelly.
Trying to. So on your original outline for this little session we've had, you had one thing on the bottom which said customize toolbar, which I think got deleted when you moved it over to top notes.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to go back to that.
That's a good one. Let's see, where did I put this?
Thank you.
Scrivener tutorial, no, not there. Customize toolbar, sure enough. Okay. Share screen. View menu. At the very bottom here, you'll see customize toolbar. And that shows you like the zillions of different commands that you can put into your toolbar. You can also drag this whole recommended toolbar into your document. But say I want to add, in fact, here's keywords. Say I want to add keywords to my menu, I just drag it up here. And if I want it out, I drag it out. And in fact, these move, I usually do have these move arrows in my, and I'll show you why. So Kelly, that answers your question though, yeah? So these I find useful in terms of what I was talking about before. Like say I want this to be a folder that's going to enclose other documents, and I want it to be left aligned. This move button just allows me to shift it over. And anytime you do that, it'll jump your folder, as you saw that folder, just like, again, if this was here and I want to move it, it'll jump it to the next place that a new folder can exist, because this is hard to describe, because all of these files exist in a folder already. So if I'm creating a new folder, that's the first place that it'll happen. But if I want it to live somewhere else, I can just drag it where I want it to go. I kind of hate teaching Scrivener because I imagine it makes people angry because it's so complicated. But yeah, if you're motivated, you'll get there.
Actually, that was really helpful. I've tried to use Scrivener like at least 5 times over the last 2 years, and I've given up each time. Then I go, no, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try it again. So yeah, that was really helpful. And
I have this like new thing I'm trying. Like I did it with Leia's question on the CCC class Discord. If anybody has questions, like I can record a little instructional video and post that as well. So feel free to hit me up with those. I'm kind of enjoying practicing making those. Don't be shy.
I feel like that document, the first time I downloaded this was like probably version 1, and that document that you showed that was their instructions that I opened, and I was like, oh, and I forget, I think it was Sarah said she doesn't really like reading documents with instructions before she does stuff. And I was like, I'll just hop in, it'll be intuitive. And I was like, and I basically drowned in it and I gave up very quickly. And this has made more sense this time than any other time that I've tried. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
Sure. I'm sure I've told some people I quit 3 times before it finally took for me over a course of about 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Kathy, hang in there, Kathy, or don't worry about it and like, stick with Word. Anything else? So the last thing I'll just show you real quick before we go is the compile feature, which was like the one thing too many earlier, but let's finish with that. And Kathy, all right, bye-bye. Have a good evening. Hope the rest of our dental stuff goes well. So let's see. So here's my actual work in progress. And if I want to export this for printing or for Word, I click on the File menu, I click on the Compile menu, and here's all of my material. And so for instance, I just recently, in fact, just before this call, I wanted to print these chapters, just these chapters. And up here, you tell Scrivener, do you want to print the excluded documents, the unchecked ones, or the included documents, or everything that's here? I find it just easier to uncheck things and do excluded documents. Up here, it's telling Scrivener whether to send it directly to print, or if I want to create a Word file. And then just compile. And what do I want to call it? I usually call this one Zeus Export. I've done it before, so it asks if I want to replace it. And then you watch the bar. And then I should have the document where I put it. And these are all those chapters that I just compiled. And you can do whatever you want in Word for that. Or go directly to the printer.
So will it just compile the text and not the note cards and the images and?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything you have in those files. And that's where you can run into formatting issues. Some people do. I don't know why I used to and I don't anymore. Okay.
When you start a new document, unit, I'll just call for now. It has that like add to compile, check, auto checked on the side I saw, right? Like if you uncheck that, will it still show up in that menu when you go to compile as an unchecked thing? Or do you have to like go in and manually add those again?
Tell me again what you are saying.
Okay, so when you were adding chapters or maybe files under chapters in the sample document, on the right hand, from my side, the right hand bar, it said, it had like a little box that said add to compile, and it was pre-checked every time you added something new, be it a chapter or whatever.
I'm sorry, am I in the wrong place?
Yeah, so like if you, oh gosh, okay, so if you were in any of the folders, I guess, and you added, like, if you in Dr. Seuss added a chapter right now, there was like one of the screens that had like a little pre-checked box on the side that said add to compile while you were creating a new item in a folder, but now I don't see it, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's news to me, but I would use that if I knew it was there.
I don't remember where it came up in the process or where I saw it.
Yeah.
I should have asked at the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed yeah, I can't help you there.
That's
This
okay.
is another command I use quite often. Like, I don't want this anymore. Just right click and move to trash to get rid of it. You can also
Thank
drag to the trash can as well. Okay. Oh, didn't hear you, Carolyn.
It was in metadata. That's a little, I just looked at it right now. But it had to be in when you're in the draft, like in or in a chapter.
Does this look familiar?
Yeah.
Right above that, it says include and compile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for catching that. I thought I was like dreaming it.
No.
Thanks
Okay.
so much, Chris.
Sure thing, Leah.
Take care. Thanks. Take care, everybody.
So right, do you want the heading? Do you want the subheading? Do you want the section? I don't entirely know what those refer to. Like, if I don't know if maybe I haven't created headings, so I don't know what it's talking about. But as you play with it, you might discover that yourself.
Yeah, I'll probably just leave that wholly for the time being. Keep not mess with it right away. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Carolyn.
All right.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was great.
Sure thing. I will see you all in your respective classes.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing. Bye.
Bye.